In this last video, as I already announced, I wanted to give some ideas to think about what is sometimes called the problem of evil, which is an old argument against the existence of God. It's very old, it has been discussed a lot of times, and you will find better resources elsewhere that I'm sure than what I'm going to say now. But well, I hope that with what I say, at least it provokes you, to think a bit about this problem and about its possible solutions. And so, well, to state what is the problem of evil is the following: is the claim that the existence of evil and of suffering in the world, as we see, is incompatible, is in contradiction with the existence of a God who is all-knowing, all-powerful, and all-good. Right? So these things cannot be together, evil and such a God. I mean, either God is not all-knowing, he doesn't know that there is evil, and that's why he doesn't do anything about it, or he is not all-powerful, he knows there is evil and he's good, but he cannot change it, or he is not all-good. No? He knows there is evil, he could change it, but he just doesn't care, he doesn't love us. No? I mean, just one of these things, one of these attributes of God have to fail, and in particular the Christian God is not compatible with the existence of evil. And so this problem, I think, in a theoretical level, I would say in an ontological level, like what is the, how can evil exist? Does evil have an ontological entity which would be incompatible with God? This part of the problem has been answered, I think, in a satisfactory way by many philosophers, starting with Saint Augustine and other philosophers in the Christian tradition. I will not talk about this. I will be more focused like in the practical level. No? So you have this feeling that, okay, there is something wrong here. How can there be so much suffering and so much pain around us and people doing evil things, and God not doing anything about it? On the practical level, it's a very powerful argument against the existence of God, I would say, in the sense that a lot of people have lost their faith when encountering evil. Like, for instance, since I talked a little bit about evolution and faith in the last video, when I was talking about Francis Collins, one person who is an example of this is Charles Darwin. He became, the moment he really lost his faith in God, is not so much because of his theory of evolution or by trying to combine evolution with faith, but it's the moment when his daughter, his little daughter, 9 years old, Annie, I think she was called, died. Suddenly being a little child, and then he said, like, okay, how could God ever allow something like this to happen? And then he lost his faith. This is just to give an example, but there are a lot of people that, you encounter suffering and you feel like if there was a God, he doesn't love me, or why doesn't he do something about it? And I think it is also a problem to which especially Christians we have, or we should have, a lot of comprehension, or a lot of understanding, with people who struggle with this. And the reason why I say it is a bit a provocative thought that you find in a book by Chesterton, G.K. Chesterton. The book is called Orthodoxy. It's a book I recommend everyone to read several times. I mean, it's a very good book. And there he says the following. He says, Christianity, in a very provoking way, Christianity is the only religion where God himself, for a short time, was an atheist. He said God himself was an atheist. He says, or it looks as if God is an atheist. And why does he say this? Is because if you read like the last moments of the life of Christ, when he was hanging on the cross, literally, his last moments, there is a moment where he says, and it is the only sentence of Jesus on the cross that is present in two different Gospels. So it's remarkable. It's like this was an important piece. And there he says, it's even written in the whole language, in Aramaic, like to give the original words. So you see there is something special about this. Jesus says, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. I don't even know if I pronounce it correctly, but the translation is, my Lord, why have you forsaken me? No, so Jesus is there suffering so much. Jesus, God himself, for Christians, is suffering there so much that he feels forsaken by God himself. No, he lets us see that the suffering that we can encounter, it can sometimes be so unbearable that even God himself feels forsaken by God. No? So it's only with this you could think about it for hours. I think it's a very deep fact, deep message that is hidden there in the gospel. But so this is why I say that we should have comprehension. No? I mean, even Jesus knew, no, what it is to suffer and what it is to then have this reaction, no? That like saying, "Where is God? Well, God has forsaken me. He has forgotten about me." And well, so in face of this problem, one can attempt now to find a solution. How could we reconcile the existence of evil with an all-loving and all-knowing and all-powerful good? And there, so I think the core idea for a fruitful reflection about this problem, that the core principle to try to find a solution, is that God could allow evil, could allow it, not desire it or want it or provoke it, but could allow it to exist if from this allowance, this fact of allowing evil to be there, a greater good would follow. Right? If from allowing this evil, a greater good could be achieved, that could not be achieved without allowing this evil to take place. So, to be more specific, if we go to the types of evil, I think if you see why people suffer, at the root of a lot of suffering, there are always, or there are very often, human choices. No? A lot of the evil in the world are caused by people, no? By human beings themselves, no? Because we are greedy, we want to have more power, we lie to other people in order to get some advantage for ourselves. Robberies, sexual abuse, all these evils, they are moral evils. They are produced by people. And so this, to make contact with what I was saying of allowing these evils for a greater good, is that if you look from a Christian perspective, if God wants to make a universe where human beings freely, in complete freedom, choose to love God and the others, as we were saying in our very first video, this was the meaning of life. Our goal in life was loving God and loving others. Well, love, in order to be able to love, you have to be free. No? Love without freedom doesn't exist. You cannot oblige someone to love. No? It contradicts the big essence of love. No? Love is like a free choice. You cannot compel love. Like, you have to love me. No? So if you want to make a universe where this love is possible, you have to allow humans to be free. You have to create creatures with a capacity of free choice, no? And they can freely choose to love. But yeah, the moment you allow freedom, you allow that some people, if they are truly free, some people will choose not to love God and the others, no? And in concrete circumstances, they will choose to love themselves more than others, and they will end up hurting others and so forth. So, but you see, this evil that is allowed by God, he doesn't want it. It would be better if everybody was loving each other and doing good to each other. That would be a better world. But you cannot achieve a world where people love freely without allowing for this possibility of evil to take place. Also in the same line of getting a greater good from allowing evil, you can think there are a lot of human virtues, of human goods, that are precisely, they arise as a reaction to evil. No? You can think, for instance, of compassion. No? We are able to be compassionate because there is suffering. No? We see people suffering and we are compassionate, and we can help other people. No? For instance, we are moved to help them. Or you can think of the virtue of trust. No? It's great when you have a relationship with someone and you trust this person. This is only possible if this person, this trust only exists as a virtue if this person is effectively capable of lying to you, of failing to be loyal to you. No? So because this person could fail to be loyal, that is why trust and trust in others is a virtue, no? And it's okay. You can say the same sort of thing of patience, of hope. No? There are a whole bunch of virtues, of human goods that arise as a response precisely to the evil present in the world. Good. Finally, something else to take also into account when you are considering the existence of evil and how it could be possible that evil exists if there is a good God, as Christians claim, is that one thing you have to take into account is that in the Christian view, life does not end with death. No, death is the beginning of what comes after, the afterlife. And even if we see a lot of injustice in the world, and there is a lot of injustice, we know that there is something that we call the final judgment. At the end of times, there will be justice. We have also this hope. No? If at the moment you die, life ends, then and you exist no more, then of course, yeah, there are injustices that will never be made good. No? They will never recover a state of justice. But that is not what Christians believe. We believe there is an afterlife, no? And that after the suffering in this life, there is heaven. No? So this is also something to take into account when you are thinking about how could God allow concrete evils that we see around us. This fact that life does not end in this material world with death is also an important element in the discussion. Well, with this, I don't claim to have solved the problem of evil and everything is okay, and no, but I hope at least I have given you some ideas for yourself. If you are struggling with this, precisely, if this is the reason why you say God cannot exist, I hope some of this might help you to think about it, and perhaps you will remain in your position, but perhaps not, and perhaps you will start looking a bit different, no? In a different way to this problem of evil. Then it would be great. Good. So with this, I've said enough. I hope this series of videos help you to think about God and the meaning of life and all these things. And take care.